Run it up, then run it back. Run it up, then run it back. Run it up, run it back. Run it up, then run it back.
Hello, and welcome us back to do a little television because, guys, did I mention I hate the schedule?
Yeah, too many days. Too many days in between.
We don't need a media day every
Give us more.
day. But anyways, we do have a game tonight. Thank you. Game Trace. Indianapolis will be where everybody's at. 8:30 Eastern start. And let's go. We got the series tied up at 1. Let me ask you this, because the two games, Lou, were very, very different. So if you had to pick one or two, which one's more indicative of what we can expect tonight? Yeah,
Probably game 2. You know, I think Thunder could have played better. I'm sure Indiana would say the same for their efforts in game 1, but they made a big shot and they were able to make this thing interesting, right? But game 2, I felt like that was more of a real indication of where this series was going with the way that OKC played. You know, they can get better production, they can get better games out of a lot of guys, but all season long, they've been a consistent. They've won by committee, and it's a different guy every single night, with the exception of SGA usually being ahead of that snake. You know, so for me, I think that's more indicative of where this series is going, opposed to game 1, just how both teams are going. Now, this is the first game we got in Indiana. We can see something different. It's going to be exciting basketball to watch, but I think game 2 for sure.
Yeah, and besides the fourth quarter in game 1, they were both pretty similar games where OKC got a big lead and they did what they did all season long, and they, you know, high pressure defense, forced a bunch of turnovers, a heavy dose of SGA. That was the same thing they did in game 1. That fourth quarter just got away from them. They got a little bit stagnant. Their offense kind of got bogged down a little bit, but this team, they got off to these big leads, 15-point lead in the fourth quarter in game 1, and they kind of took their foot off the gas. So I think when you look at the big picture of both games, I think game 2 is a little more indicative, if you will.
Boom.
But again,
squeeze that out.
Indiana also did what they did all season long, and they stayed resilient, and they, you know, didn't stop playing till the whistle or till the, you know, the buzzer sound. So both teams do what they do. I
simply cannot.
It's just they were kind of similar though, but I think looking at the full game, I think game 2 is kind of the bigger picture of what we thought was going to happen.
So I like that we're doing it like big picture of the game itself. Now we can sort of focus in on Tyrese Halliburton because, as he will tell you himself, he has come out and been very, very slow starts to both of these games. And it's almost as if they're allowing the hole that's being dug to be so big that there's not enough time to come back. He said he's got to be more aggressive to start out a game, Chandler. What does that mean? Does it mean just simply more points?
Yeah, I think it's just setting the tone, right? And I think we've praised him all season long for being the last pure point guard, or the most pure point guard that we have in the NBA. It's not necessarily his game to be an offensive 30, 40-point a night scorer, not to be a pig offensively and take bad shots. He's a setup guy. So we can't really pick and choose when we want him to be that pure point guard, when we want him to be one of these aggressive elite scorers that we have in the league. But if there was ever a time, it's right now, because this offense is struggling. They're going up against a defense that is historically good, and they don't have that many creators on their team. So yes, I think he needs to set the tone. Yes, I think with the way they play defense, and they pressure you and they blitz you and they get after you 94 feet, he's the primary ball handler, him and Nembhard, that have to break their defense down, that have to get in the lane to start making it easier for this offense. Everyone's got to be better. Siakam's got to be better. And now when it gets slowed down in the half court, those two guys are relied on to create shots for themselves and for other people. So that starts with Tyrese Halliburton, who's got the ball in his hands most of the game.
Yeah, and the only thing that has to change for him is you can be a dynamic playmaker, but you can score as well, and you don't use that tool enough to open up your passing lanes. Like, if you just look at those clips on a lot of those pick and rolls, he's going left to right. That tells me you're not in attack mode. You know, he had success in the pick and roll when he was splitting the defense. Now I'm making plays because I'm playing 4-on-5 because I got one of the defenders behind me due to that slip. Also, coming off a screen rolls, you're picking up your dribble too fast, right? So when you're picking up your dribble, you're playing left to right, you're not playing north and south. That's telling me you're not looking to be aggressive enough. Every single play, he should try to get something out of the defense. He should make them shift, whether it's the low man, make them blitz, and then you get the ball off fast and get it to the middle where you can make plays. That's what I mean by being aggressive. You don't have to jack up a bunch of shots to be aggressive and to be impactful on the offensive end. But if you're going to be with the guy with the basketball and your team needs you to score points, you got to be more aggressive. You can't pick up your dribble. You can't go left to right. You got to put pressure on them every single possession down the court. And that's what I expect him to do tonight. So him acknowledging the fact that he's gotten off to slow starts, Three times can't be the charm, right? No. Tonight has to be the night that you change this dynamic. In the first quarter, I don't care if you shoot a bunch of shots, but you got to just put pressure on the defense by using your abilities.
Yeah, just be more assertive, right? Put pressure on them. Make them defend. Make them guard multiple actions. And Rick Carlisle's offense has always been so heavy pick and roll, transition. They play really fast, and he's really good at doing that, and he's really good at getting everybody involved. Now it can slow down. Now you're playing against a more physical defense that really makes you play faster. And I think he just needs to be more aggressive. He needs to look to score more, even though it's not his specialty. In this series, that's what it's calling for. And again, it's him and Siakam that create. It's him and Siakam that kind of can figure out mismatches, get in the paint, and get easy buckets. He's got to just assert himself more offensively and not wait till the fourth quarter and then he goes nuts in a game that's kind of already over, right? It's too late. He's got to apply pressure on this great defense early.
That's the thing I think that might be frustrating. And by the way, in the postseason, in the wins, he's got about 21 points. In losses, he's had about 13. So really, that is a pretty telling stat there as well. But the fact that he had 12 points in the fourth quarter of Game 2, it's in there. So I ask you this. We're going to turn on this game tonight. What is something that we need to see from Tyrese Haliburton immediately to know that it's going to be different tonight?
I think just being more certain, like we just talked about. I think taking 15-plus shots in the first three quarters, setting that tone, being aggressive, making them defend. And he's going to see multiple different guys on him, right? That's what makes OKC's defense so good. Caruso's going to spend time on him. Cason Wallace, Lou Dort. Like, they have so many interchangeable guys. Jalen Williams, SGA. Like, I just named 5 guys that can guard him and give him different looks. So he's going to have that all series long, but it's the finals. You don't want to look back and say, man, I could have been more aggressive here. Man, I could have done this. Rick Carlisle's going to put him in the right situations. Their offense is so good. He just needs to be more aggressive, take more shots. Kind of like the Minnesota series when we were like, Anthony Edwards has got to take more attempts. Jimmy Butler has got to take more attempts. Now, this is your team. You are the face of this team. As good as Siakam is, as good as this offense is, this is Tyrese Haliburton's team. They're going to live and die with him being aggressive, and I would love to see that early and often tonight.
Yeah, you can't keep easing in the games, right? If I'm Tyrese Haliburton, I can't ease into these basketball games. I have to be the person that sets the tone. 12 of your 17 points in the fourth quarter is a little too late, right? Like, we don't want to keep seeing these hero games where everything comes down to having to make a big shot. You want to give yourself a balanced attack. If you can work your way into 4 to 6 points every quarter, whether 2 of those points every quarter is free throws, 1 is a layup, 1 can be a jump shot. Just simple ways to try to get yourself going to stay involved and to stay in the offense where you're initiating so much, especially if you're going to be ball dominant. If you're going to be the guy with the basketball, you have to create. You have to figure something out, especially if teams are going to load up. We know OKC is going to play great team defense. We know that they're not going to give up anything easy. They're not going to allow guys to go downhill without showing the crowd. So knowing that, play downhill, use that, knowing that they're going to collapse their defense to start kicking it out to get to other guys. If they want to stay home, the floater like we just saw on screen. If these guys are going to sit back on pick and roll, take advantage of the three-pointers. But if you're coming off and you're just picking up your dribble and you're getting off of it, giving it to another guy, that's not going to help Indiana at all. This thing is going to be over.
13 field goal attempts in Game 1 and Game 2. I just think it has to be more.
Yeah, that's more of a Caruso thing. Like, you need a guy to have that ball. If you're going to be the star, 20 attempts at least.
You think being at home, because we've seen such a weird at-home play versus on-the-road play for teams, especially in this postseason. You think it'll help or hurt them? I mean, it's going to be crazy in there.
I think it'll help. I think anytime you have home court advantage in this place, the building is going to be rocking.
It's going to be silly.
We played there. That place is going to be insane. They're waiting for this. And the fact that the series is 1-1 is huge. Like, they did their job. They got 1 in OKC. Now they need to get at least one at home, you know what I mean? So I think that place is going to be aggressive. I think it's pivotal to get off to a good start. As good as they've been, resilient and coming back, you have to get off to a good start. OKC is too good, and they're not going to take their foot off the gas again like they did in Game 1. So early and often from Tyrese Haliburton, Siakam, everybody, it's got to be a collective effort. The bench still has to be good, but it starts with Tyrese Haliburton.
Yeah, everybody has to be good. OKC isn't one of those teams that only 1 or 2 guys is going to be. Everybody has to bring something to the table, but we're going to keep harping on it. It's going to start with the top 2 guys. They got to be the ones that put everybody in a position to make sure this thing go. Like, you can't expect a Nembhard to get this team going. You can't expect a T.J. McConnell to get it going, or Obi Toppin, or Miles Turner. It got to start with the top 2 guys in Siakam and Haliburton, and that's going to give you the best opportunity to win games. We can't wait till the fourth quarter to do it because, again, OKC is too good on both ends of the floor. They will bury you early in this game, early in this series, if you allow them to. That is a team that feels like they should be up 2-0. They dropped the ball to game one. Game two, they came out and they handled their business. Now the momentum is right back into their hands. And so if you come out playing with them, they're going to beat you for sure.
And also, do what got you here. Like, you don't need to change anything. Just be more assertive offensively, take more shots, be more aggressive. When you do get in the paint, like Lou says, he leaves his feet all the time and kind of gets him in trouble in game two with the turnovers. But he takes care of the ball so well. It's hard to nitpick and harp on him and his turnovers. But do what you do. Be that guy. Just be more aggressive and put more pressure on this great defensive team. Try and make it as hard as possible. Try and find the mismatch, even though there's not. And everything, I think, will just open up for this team. Get out in transition, play fast, do what you do all year long. You belong here. You're here, right? You're going back home. It's 1-1. You don't need to change much. Just be more aggressive.
You belong. That's so nice. By the way, it's crazy to say out loud there's no mismatch. That's like a crazy place to be right now. SGA having completely different situation. 0 issues getting up shots, averaging 36 in the 2 games we've played so far. Lou, are you going over under 33.5 for tonight?
I'm going to go over. Yeah, I'm going over because this isn't – we're having this conversation about Holly not being aggressive enough. Sometimes he can be too aggressive. SGA can be too aggressive sometimes. So I think in game 2, he made his adjustments and he found a sweet spot that worked for him. You know, he had 21 attempts and got, 35, 34 out of it. That's what you want to see. You want to get it. You want to have 20, 21 attempts where your teammates can benefit off of you making plays as well and eating off of the land. That's the balance that there needs. So if anything that we can bet, that we can feel really good about, is going to be him having more than 33.5 points. Because again, this is a guy that's going to be aggressive. He's going to set the tone. Whether good or bad, this team is going to live and die with him and how he plays and the production that he puts on the table, and they're comfortable with that.
Yeah, and we picked him to have over 30 in every game, right? Before this. So why stop now? And again, this guy is so good. He's so relentless. His mid-range package is unbelievable. The fact that he can get to the free throw line 10+ times is great. So I just can't really see a game that he has under 30, and the way they play the ISO ball, the way they move the ball, the way they get out in transition, there's nothing he can't do on the offensive end of the court. So I'd have to go over as well. And again, this place is going to be nuts tonight. He's got to set the tone early. He's got to be aggressive, which he has no problem with doing.
This is something he's done all season long. So again, he ain't gun shy at all. He's going to get his attempts up. One thing we can bet on, he's going to get 20 to 25 shots at the rim. And any time that a guy takes that many shots, he's going to have an opportunity to get 35, 33, 30 plus, for sure.
Why do we have to wait 13 hours for this game? Like, why can't we start it?
We've been patient enough at this point.
I'm so over waiting for everything. Jalen Williams, by the way, a few guys were asked about whether or not they've seen the best of OKC yet. Have they reached the ceiling? Is there more still? Jalen Williams was also asked about that. And he said, we never want to limit ourselves. I mean, the overwhelming answer has been, no, I think there's still a lot more. What do you think?
I totally agree. I think OKC has another level. I think defensively, it travels. You know they're going to compete on the defensive end. You know they're going to get up in you tonight. They're going to force turnovers. They're going to get out and do what they do. You guys stop. They have another level, especially offensively. You know what SGA is going to give you, right? Chet was better in game 1, especially in the start. Jalen Williams is kind of that X factor. He was 6 of 19 game 1, 5 of 14 in game 2. He can definitely be more efficient. He's the second option, but that is the beauty of OKC. It can be Chet one night. It can be Caruso one night. Hartenstein, when they went to the 2 bigs, they found extreme value and production there. Last game, it was Aaron Wiggins, so you never know who it's going to be. Game 1, Lou Dort was the one that gave you 5 threes. So this team is so balanced, but Jalen Williams has to and will be better and more efficient.
You think the fact that we've anointed him as the number 2 guy, has that bugged him? Is he not ready?
No,
what is it?
That's not a thing. Again, we still feel like this is SGA's team. We fought the fact that we're starting to call them a trio now. I don't think that's a thing for him. At the end of the day, he's already had the commercials. He's got the all-star nod. This has been a hat that he's been comfortable with wearing all year long. But he's struggling a little bit in this postseason, in these finals. 6 for 19 in the last game in his last outing. If I can get 3 or 4 more makes out of that, that's a pretty good game. But at least that he's out there and he's being aggressive. He's not being gun shy. You would like to see him be more assertive on the offense. Well, he's been assertive. You would like to see him be more efficient on the offensive end. clean up some of these things. And he's not taking a lot of three-point shots.
No.
So that tells me that he's missing bunnies.
2 for 9.
Yeah, a guy that plays at the rim, that finishes at the rim, plays in the mid-range, those are things that you can shore up. Those are the things that you can fix. If he continues to be aggressive, I think we see a different version of Jalen Williams tonight.
And think about what we're saying. We're thinking about how he's got another level. He can be better. He can be more efficient. So clearly their offense hasn't even scratched the surface, especially in this series. And again, Chet's start last night, game 2 to the beginning, knocking down threes, being aggressive. I love that they mixed it up and went back to the 2 big lineup. And then again, Caruso was great. Wiggins was great. They're throwing in Isaiah Joe early. Like, there's so many ways they can hurt you. There's so many guys they can plug and play while you know the pecking order. You know SGA is going to give you over 30 and be aggressive, get to the foul line. Jalen Williams is kind of that mystery question mark. Yes, he's the number 2 guy. Yes, he's the second best player on this team. He just hasn't had the great start to this series, but there's still time, and I do think he figures it out because he's getting good looks.
I'll tell you what, though. Think about the matchups that he's had on the defensive end, though. We might not need you to score. We might not need you to even this doesn't even have, this doesn't even have to be your mission, is to be a dynamic scorer for this team. Go out and go get the best matchups, and that's how you impact the game. That's what makes OKC so dangerous. You think that you have one way that they're going to play, one way that they win games. Time and time again, it's a different guy, it's a different style, night in and night out, and Jalen Williams can be that. He can turn into a Swiss Army knife. He doesn't have to be a scorer that we want him to be, to put 15, 20 points on the board. If you can stop somebody else from putting theirs on the board, that's just as impactful.
Yeah, and this is a dude that he was all defensive team. Right? So it's not like we just need him to score and go get those 20 points a game. His impact, he can impact the game and winning in so many different ways. It doesn't have to just depend on his scoring. Yes, that's huge. Yes, you want him to be in that 45, 50% from the field, but when he's not, he can still impact the game.
And that's what happens when your team is stacked. This is how it can work and still be effective. The Pacers, looking back at them, first team since Miami back in 2013, a year we do not discuss on this show. It's the first time we haven't had a 20-point scorer in the first 2 games. Now, we know that Pascal Siakam has it in him because he had 3 30-pointers in the Eastern Conference Finals. Does he need to be the 20-point man on this one?
He does. Again, we talked about... Look at my sleeve.
What is happening to you right now? Are you having a fashion moment?
He's got to be great. And again, he was so good in the Eastern Conference Finals. And that's what he does. He takes advantage of mismatches. And the problem is with OKC's defense, yeah, he might give up a little size there, but he can just shoot over you. He can get to that block. He can kind of face you up. He can knock down the 3. He can get to the basket. So he can do everything. And when the game slows down for Indiana, that's where they kind of get a little stagnant. He is the guy. As good as Halliburton is in transition, setting up everybody, getting them open looks, when it slows down, when you get that mismatch, when you get someone smaller on you, that's when Siakam's got to attack. That's when he's got to get to the free throw line, shoot over you, kind of size you up. And that's what he's done all season long. Turner's got to be great. He's got to pick and pop, make shots. He's got to stretch the floor, get Chet, get Hartenstein out of the paint, because that even allows Halliburton more driving lanes, Nembhard to get in the paint, and that opens up everything for their offense. Then you see Toppin getting wide open threes. Then you see Mathurin kind of getting the bucket. But it all starts with Halliburton and Siakam, and that 2-man game has got to be elite.
Siakam thing, it's a very interesting one to keep your eye on. But you just said there were no mismatches, and I only say that because I'm about to bring up Alex Caruso, and he's smaller and does not seem to matter at all.
He's the reason why there's no mismatches.
He's a crazy man out there. He had 20 points in game 2, and after this one, Draymond Green said that he is the 3rd most important player on the Thunder. Okay, process, go.
I'm agreeing.
Okay.
I'm agreeing because, again, this team is so deep, and they're such a good basketball team. It can be a different guy that can be the most important for you series after series. This is a guy that's been averaging 9 points a game in the playoffs, 16 in the finals, right? Like, completely different. And this is the stage that you want that to be on. You see it right here. When he comes off the bench, he's going to make open shots. He's going to be a threat. We already talked about what he can do on the defensive end, but look at these offense. If they feel like they're going to make somebody else beat us, Alex Caruso is that guy. He's shooting horse shots out there. Like it's nobody 5 to 10 feet from him. They're saying we're going to allow you the opportunity to get these open shots. If you beat us, you beat us. He's made them pay every single time. And on the defensive end, we knows what he brings to the table. He can guard guys 1 through 5. Anybody, from your smallest guy to your tallest guy to your best player. Alex Caruso can guard any of them. So he's bringing energy. He's giving you extra possessions. He's knocking down open shots. He's being efficient. So, again, we've made We made our beds with Jalen Williams. We made our beds with Chet Holmgren. But look what Alex Caruso has been able to do. He's been the one consistent thing that you can rely on in OKC throughout 2 games already. So he has to be one of those guys. He has to be an important piece with the way that he's playing right now.
He's a pest.
He's such a stud. And you know what he is? He's just a coach's dream, right? You can trust him. You can put him in any action, offensively, defensively. Lou just talked on it. His versatility this posting, I think, has really kind of put them over the edge. You see him guard Jokic. You see him guard point guards. You see him. There's no one on the court he can't guard. So I think that's obviously his value. And now all of a sudden he's making shots and he's getting wide open looks because of their offense is so good, because of the attention that SGA creates. But it's hard for me to say he's the 3rd most important player when they have this monster growing big 3. And then they got guys like Hartenstein, who is that legit 5-man who frees up Chet. And you got a guy like Cason Wallace, who's starting in the NBA playoffs, who's so valuable. But he is one of those guys. He is a huge piece. Whether he starts, whether he's off the bench, whether he's in at the end of the game, he's a guy you can trust and rely on that rarely makes mistakes and just defends his butt off.
You know what, fun fact about Hartenstein, because you know how all year long everybody's been like Hartenstein? They've been overemphasizing the shta.
Yeah.
I'm listening to the Oklahoma City broadcast, and they just simply say Hartenstein.
Yeah.
So I think we should stop now. That's just something I noticed, and I wanted to throw that out there.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's driving me mad. There's a bunch of those going around right now, and it's
way to get
weird.
that off your chest.
Thank you. It was. It's not here where.
Sounded like it was bothering you a little bit.
It's just in me. What? Rick Carlisle. No stranger to sort of having an uphill battle or perhaps being an underdog in a situation like this. We know what he did with the Mavs when they beat Miami back in 2011. So mentally, I don't think you can phase Rick Carlisle. Now, I know these are different teams and different makeups of these teams. What can he adjust?
Well, like you said, he's done it before. Obviously, there's no Dirk Nowitzki on this team, and he's not coming through those doors. But they did have similar other guys in that series that were huge. You remember that series, Jason Terry, J.J. Barea. Those guys were unbelievable. Can the Pacers bench be as good as the Oklahoma City Thunder's bench? Can Obi Toppin be great? Can TJ be great? Can Mathurin be great? It's going to be those other guys for the most part, besides that game 2, first 3 quarters of Halliburton. You got to know what you're going to get from these guys. You know how they're going to play offensively. Their bench has been great all postseason. I think the key for me, they have to be better than OKC's bench, and they haven't been. They got Wiggins coming off going nuts. Caruso's been fantastic. OKC's bench is outplaying the Pacers' bench so far.
But can they, personnel-wise, can they actually be better than their bench? Is that a given?
I think they both have really good benches. I think for me, the biggest adjustment that Carlisle is going to have to make is he's going to have to figure out a way to get Tyrese Halliburton involved in this game early and often. I think that's one of the things. Like, instead of drawing up the first play for Siakam or Nembhard, one of those guys, you gotta get him going early. You gotta get Tyrese Holly up maybe on a dribble handoff or Iverson cut, something like that, to get him involved in this game where he can go downhill, he can see the ball go in early. That way, that sets the table for him to be aggressive throughout the game. Like, again, we don't want him to be one of those scorers that doesn't get other guys involved, because his playmaking is what makes them special. But again, if the other team knows that you're just trying to make plays, we're going to guard you in that manner. You got to make a team guard you where they can't help off, where they got to guard you honestly, and everybody keep their matchups. And now you have the lanes to go open when they start helping on you. So I think those are going to be the adjustments that he has to make, and his bench play as well. He's going to have to figure out a way to get the most out of his bench. I think they've done that somewhat, but they got to match fire with fire. If Alex Caruso is going to be one of the most important guys on OKC, you got to find somebody to either match his energy or get him out of the game and neutralize him in some fashion, whether you put him on a scouting report as a guy that you have to guard with the same energy you would guard a Jalen Williams, or you would guard with an SGA. Those are the adjustments that I think he would have to make them successful.
And maybe Carlisle's adjustment is taking Halliburton off the ball a little bit. Have him come off those stagger screens. Have him set the screen with Siakam handling.
Play a little him and McConnell together a little bit.
Exactly. Maybe go 2 guards. Maybe go 3 guards. Go super small. I mean, there's different rotations and tweaks he can make, so it'll be interesting to see what he does, what he thinks will free up Tyrese Halliburton early in this game.
I mean, they've had 2 whole days to come up with all kinds
Too much time in between to not adjust.
2 whole days to figure this whole thing out. I'm wondering, Lou, if you feel like I do. After game 1, it was like, oh my God, we can't count the Pacers out. This is crazy. After game 2, the completely different vibe. It felt like OKC is going to finish this thing in 5 now. It's the getting down big and hoping your luck keeps going. Do you think the Pacers' luck at sort of digging deep holes and getting out, have we run out?
I don't think so. At the end of the day, we can nitpick and we can talk about turnovers, we can talk about rotations and players and yada, yada, yada. This series is 1-1, and the next 2 games are on their home court. That's something you got to consider. So they got just as good as a shot as OKC has in winning this series and taking advantage of the opportunity that they have with the next couple of games on their floor. So have they had some missteps? Have they had some great opportunities? They have. They've missed some. But OKC can say the same thing for themselves. But at the end of the day, when all is said and done, it's 1-1 and the next 2 games are on their floor.
Yeah, if OKC wasn't such a monster, the advantage should be for Indiana. It's 1-1. They already did their job and still went on the road. Now they're going back home with a chance to completely shift this series, the momentum, everything. So I'm never counting this team out. They've proved us over and over again that they are for real. Like I said all the time, they belong here. They deserve to be here. I'm not counting them out till this series is over.
Every game feels different. Every game you're like, oh, you know what? No, maybe it is over. It's just fun.
It'll get good tonight. Tonight is when we'll start seeing
they
what's
could
happening.
really shake it up. Till you win this game, woof. Then we got
It's going
action.
7. You've already basically made that a fact. We're going to take a very quick break. On the other side, Jermaine O'Neal joins the
J.O.
We get a vibe for Indy from him.
Run it back, yeah. Run it up, run it back, run it up.
Yo, Jermaine O'Neal. Victory is online.
Jermaine O'Neal with a 2-handed chip jam. What a game for O'Neal.
I'm nice running through the lane. The wind's getting on, already set on.
Everyone looks so young in that. Jermaine O'Neal, there he is, joining us now. 6-time NBA All-Star, 3-time All-NBA, and of course, played in Indianapolis. So I got to ask you, Jermaine, first of all, sweet sweater. I do love this. Game 3. I know that they're amped. They haven't had one of these bad boys in 25 years in Indianapolis. What will it be like tonight in the city, in the building?
I think it'll be electric. You know, I went to a game, I think game 4 in Indy in the conference finals, and I was sweating watching the game, right? Energy was incredible. Obviously, it's a very passionate city when it comes to that team. One of the best fan bases, in all the sports. So I expect nothing less than them to be just crazy and excited, for Game 3 tonight.
J.O., I want to do some in-house fighting, man. The last time that the Pacers were in the NBA Finals was the year 2000. That was the year before you got there. Took the Lakers to 6. Eventually ended up falling. But how did you see that 2000 team matching up with this current Pacers team in a 7-game series? How do you like that matchup?
Wow.
That's a tough one, man. I mean, 2 different styles of play. I think from perspective, they're more physical. This Indiana Pacers team is a running gun. I didn't even realize, it's different when you watch it on television, but when you see it in person, just the speed that they have is just amazing. So I think it'd be two tales of, one team that's really physical, slower pace, and another team that really gets out, plays with a lot of numbers too. So if I had to guess who would win that, I would probably give it to the 2000 Pacers.
And those pinstripe blue jerseys are
Pinstripe.
so fire. They got to bring those back.
Out the uniforms.
So, J.O., Rick Carlisle, he comes in, he takes over, 61 wins in the first year. Then he wins a ring in Dallas. Now he's back in the finals of a team, not many people expected them to be in the finals this year. What makes him so different? What makes him such a great coach?
He's Rick Carlisle's a basketball savant. I had a chance to play with him when I was in Indy, and he's a thinker. He's one of the best in-game strategy coaches that we've seen in the game. He's a little bit eclectic, from a personality standpoint, but he's an amazing guy. He's a coach that, and we've all been around these type of coaches where, you got some that you just run through a wall for. And Rick Carlisle is one of those guys. He never seems to panic. He's not a guy that's going to look, frustrated or a little bit sped up. He's the guy who's going to stay the course. He's going to make sure his team is prepared. And that's the reason why I think the Pacers will win Game 3 tonight.
Eclectic is a nice way of putting it. He's a quirky cat.
Wait, so when you guys say eclectic and quirky, give us an example. Is it non-basketball
did
related?
He used to work out with you guys back, and with the sweatpants pulled up to his chest and grunting and all that? Did he do that back in there? Or that was a new thing when I had him in Dallas.
He didn't work out with us, but he would come out and shoot around a little bit on the court. He would tuck his pants in his sock back then. So.
His pants into his
J.O.,
socks?
but have you heard about him taping his ankles on game days? Have you heard that? I've never played for him, but I've heard that from multiple guys.
Both ankles?
You know what? Honestly, guys, I think he might have grew out of that by the time we got.
It's like they was done with it. The pants into the socks is wild.
Yeah, he's a different
I do
dude.
have an issue with that.
Yeah.
Tyrese Halliburton has been such a fun topic of conversation throughout this entire postseason. He has introduced himself perhaps to a brand new audience who had no idea as far as the clutch that he had. But then he also has games like Game 2 where he has, 5 points through 3 quarters, and you're just sort of scratching your head. So how do you assess? Like, when you watch Tyrese Halliburton, what are you seeing?
You know, again, I got a different perspective, watching him in person. He's another basketball savant that he sees the game a little bit different. I think the biggest thing, when you hear about the overrated stuff, and a lot of it is he seems like he's trying to figure out how to be a superstar, right? When you think about the superstars of our league, right? These guys have been through it. They understand it. They understand how to take over games, from start to finish. He's a natural pass-first guard. Right. And so what he likes to do is he likes to try to get people involved to open up everything. But I think he has to understand at this point of the season, this team goes as he goes. Right. And his energy when he is, head down, touching the paint, looking for his first as well and others. It's a completely different team. But when he plays the way he played, really in this, in the second game, a little bit, honestly, in the first game, too, because he doesn't make that big shot. He only has 12 points in that game, and they lose, right? And so from a perspective, I think he's learning on the job, but sometimes learning on the job in certain situations can put you under scrutiny, and I think he's going to be a lot better as he comes back home tonight. They will be better if he's aggressive and becomes an option, from start to finish. At least allows OKC to have to wonder what he's going to do next versus him standing in the corners or getting off the ball.
Right. Yeah, so that's what does that look like? Does that Carlisle make adjustments, putting him in different actions? Is that him, taking ownership, just taking more shots, getting to the free throw line? Like, is it just being more assertive in general?
Yeah. You just have to be more assertive, right?
Yeah.
At this point, you have to have more will than another team. And, in a 7-game series, it's nothing that they can probably really adjust too much on because obviously you're playing the same team every night. And obviously, you got to tip your hats to OKC. They are a monster defensive team. They guard you from start to finish. But it's the thing with Indy and the Pacers, right? When he gets open and he gets moving and shaking, it opens up so much for other people. So at least, if he's setting the pace for the Pacers to get the ball out fast and sprint the ball up the floor, it gives them a better opportunity to score.
Oh.
And the other guy that he's competing against is SGA. He's the MVP, Western Conference Finals MVP. If he's able to pull this off and be the Finals MVP, that puts him in rare air with Steph, Magic, Isaiah as, the best player, best point guards on a winning basketball team. Where would you stack him up so early in his career with the greats at that position?
It is early, but, anytime you can, I think the league is always built off, longevity. But I think you have to put him up there as one of the best young stars of all time. If he pulls that off, whether it makes him one of the best of all time, we'll see, throughout his career. But he's done an amazing job. It's interesting to watch him because you can never tell what's going on in the game. Right? He has a very poker face at all times. You see him on the bench, and he's kind of like, damn, is he there? Is he just kind of staring? But his game travels no matter where he plays, and I think he has been amazing in these playoffs. And obviously, he's had an amazing year. So I expect for him to be what he is. I ultimately think that this game comes down to everybody else. To be honest, really on both teams. I thought the Pacers bench didn't do as well in Game 2 as they did in Game 1. Collectively, I thought Pascal Siakam wasn't as aggressive as he needed to be in Game 2. I expect that to be different again tonight. It's kind of a strange series where it's going to take a lot of other people. Caruso he went for 20, right? Aaron Wiggins went for 18, right? And I think it's going to be that type of series where you get these guys coming off the bench. Making big shots. I think in Game 1, if I'm not mistaken, Toppings, T. Bryant, and Turner hit 8 threes.
Yeah.
Right. And so, I think it's going to be one of those type of series where, stars got to be stars, obviously, and then whose reserves are going to come out and outplay the other.
Okay, so all that being said, prediction time.
Oh, no.
You mentioned that you think the Pacers get Game 3 tonight, which would make this series really interesting. Who you got winning it all, and how many games?
Oh, see now.
We almost halfway home. We 1-1.
My heart says the Pacers. Only because I think their role. Well, both teams are tested, but oh man, y'all, listen.
Feels like your heart's saying the Pacers, but your brain's saying the Thunder.
No, you don't want to say it out loud. I got Pacers in 6. It's not crazy.
Well, a lot has to depend on Tyrese Halliburton.
Yeah.
Right? It really comes down, the Pacers cannot win this series if he is not a star. Right? And he has to be a star every single night for them to have a chance to really win this game. And if he's a star, I'm taking my Pacers.
Let's go.
There it is. There it is. See, it's not crazy. No, I think we're going to find out tonight real quick. All right, let's do draft class debate because there have been some really good ones over the years. 84 and 2003. Cool. But then there was 1996. That's the one that you came out.
Loaded.
17th picking that one. You got Nash, you got AI, you got Ray Allen, Marbury, everybody in it. In your opinion, what makes that class the best draft class?
The depth, right? Just the depth. I mean, we ain't even talking about the second round guys or the undrafted guys. Ben Wallace went undrafted, in that draft. So I think collectively the depth, and not only that, the longevity and success of that draft class has just been amazing. People talk about LeBron's class too as well, which was a really good class as well. But I don't think they have the same level of depth that we have. So obviously, I'm taking the '96 class for sure.
That's a good.
And you came in the league with Rasheed Wallace, Isaiah Rodder, very controversial, fun-loving, big personality guys out in Portland. I came in with AI, so I can relate to that. What do you remember about that time being so young with such dynamic personalities, jailbird, they put all of that stuff on them? What was it like coming into the league with guys like that?
Well, I'm going to be honest, it was the best place for me. It gave me ability to have 4 years of college, kind of college one-on-one for the NBA. I will say that it was no better place for me to go to as a 17-year-old out of Columbia, South Carolina, and straight out of high school. They were well prepared. Shout out to the Portland Trailblazers for having a system in place for a teenager, right? And I think that's the one thing that a lot of people don't really talk about. You draft players, but you have to have a game plan. You have to have tools for these players to be successful, and the Portland Trailblazers did that. The city of Portland as well was just, I was the second son, so that made it really, really easy for me to go through my transition. But most importantly, those Rasheed Wallace, the late great Cliff Robinson, Kenny Anderson at the time, Arvydas Sabonis. I mean, we've had
a lot of vets, man.
Yeah, a lot of vets, and they change the team every single year. But Rasheed and those guys really made it easy for me to go through my process. Obviously, going against those guys every day in practice, it's no better learning curve than playing against those guys every day in practice. And they really prepared me for my stint in Indy.
I can't even imagine how many times you've been asked about the Malice in the Palace. I'm sure if you had a nickel, it'd be amazing. That being said, though, because I don't want to ask about it, I kind of want to ask what you think or maybe something that we've not understood or that's been misunderstood through the course of the years in asking you about it. Is there anything that stands out about that day or that night?
Well, I think obviously I was the one that didn't really want to talk much about it. I felt like so much was lost in that process. A lot of things that people don't know that we couldn't talk about it for 10 years. So a narrative was created and you couldn't speak about it because we were dealing with criminal, federal, like state, civil, it was just a lot of things that went on for literally almost a decade. And you couldn't say much about it. And then over a period of time, it becomes very emotional for you. Again, for me, it was all about trying to win a championship. A lot was for Reggie at the time when we were playing. And it's just one of those things where you give so much to teams. And I always say this, and I said this on a previous podcast, on Zebo's and Tony Allen's podcast, and shout out to those guys. You wake up every day to try to be best in business when it comes to how you represent your organization, how you represent the league, how you represent the community. And when you're put in a situation where you have to really be a leader, and I say that respectfully, when you are, you hear leadership all the time in the corporate world and in your home and in sports, But when you are put in a position where you have to fend for yourself and others, right? That's a true level of leadership. So from that perspective, I made a decision to defend a guy that was a teammate that was actually literally getting off the floor, and the guy that I actually hit was the guy that was on top of him, right? But the narrative was created that, you know, not only for us as the individuals that was involved, but the league that I love so much was under scrutiny as well. Right. And so that part was something that really bothered me for a very, very long time. I'm gonna be honest. You know, I felt like the NBA, which I love and I appreciate in so many ways, have given me the opportunity to live a dream and create generational wealth for my family and my bloodline. But I felt like they could have did a better job, you know, maybe not at the time, but over a period of time to speak about the character person that I am and the things that I've done in the community and what I really meant, for the Pacers and when I was playing in the NBA.
Yeah, J.O., I fully agree with that. And as someone that was on a court, when someone came on the court, I want to ask you about the Tyrese Haliburton dad situation. Is that just unacceptable? Like, even if it's a father or an agent or someone, is that better security? Like, how should that situation have been handled differently from preventing? Because what if Giannis would have punched him what if Giannis, what if that would have escalated to something worse? How do you stop something like that from happening again?
Well, I think that's an issue across the board. I think, a fan should never approach a player. A fan should never have access to the floor. Right. And in particular, a parent, right? You know, I know you're energized about your kid, and obviously in a playoff series, a lot of emotions are high, but you should never run up on a player because you never know what type of day a player is having.
And you better figure out the right one to run up on, too.
He's lucky it wasn't someone else.
You better figure out the right one to run up on.
That's crazy. That's valid. Well, you know what? Hopefully lessons we're learning. We never, ever see that again, however. Jermaine, this has been awesome. We appreciate it so much. I know you're going to Game 4, so enjoy. Pacers in 6, still holding out.
Pacers in 6.
Pacers in 6. We'll be right back.
All right.
Run it up, run it back, run it up, run it back.
Oh my goodness, Lou, do you remember that time that the Knicks fired their coach, who was like their best coach in a really long time, and then they had zero backup plan? That's what's happening right now in real life.
Well, they have a plan. It's just go and interview every other current taken head coach.
Just in case somebody's unhappy somewhere.
This is embarrassing. Now these are the names. UDOKA, FINCH, and Kidd all have said, no, you cannot talk to our coaches. How bad do they look right now, Lou?
They look crazy, I ain't gonna lie. You look crazy. It's like, you know she got a boyfriend and you still calling her phone.
Trying.
Like, you know she's happy at home. Why are you calling that lady? Like, leave these coaches alone. But the optics are bad. You know, I don't know what their plan of action is. But listen, if you're gonna look for a coach, start at the top. Go call some of the best of the best.
You can't do any more though, right?
Call the best of the best and see if they're
just gonna go down the line and keep cold calling. Hey, are you unhappy?
Jordan just got the gig. Let's see what he
call
wants to
JJ
do.
Redick next. See what
they don't believe that Jay Kidd didn't know about the Luka trade. So let's try him.
He might be mad.
Let's try him. Maybe he's still pissed at Nico.
Let's try anybody.
This is
it's just the arrogance, right? Like it's just, I understand they want a great coach. There's some good coaches out there, but it's like Lou just said, they're married men. Leave them alone. Buzz off.
I don't know how that analogy works out. Jimmy Dolan, ladies and gentlemen, he's awake and he's back. That's what this is. It just looks bad.
You just fired the guy who's been one of your better coaches, in recent time, and now you don't even have a plan. You don't have a backup plan. Now you're going and just knocking on the door.
They were going to take a few weeks to kind of figure this out. We're in week 1.
They should have taken a few weeks to fire.
They're waiting until the finals end so they can call Carlisle and Dagnall to try and interview.
Yeah, because that's what they're going to want. They're going to want to leave teams that just made it to the finals.
You'll be like, Carlisle, you just lost in the finals. Maybe you'll come.
I've never seen an organization shoot their shot at 3 coaches and be 0 for 3. And shoot their shot at coaches who have jobs.
I don't think they're done either. I think they're just going to keep on knocking.
Well, at this point, you've made fools of yourselves, so you might as well just keep the right
Call
going.
JB.
The French Open final, I mean, why not? 5 hours and 30 minutes. That's how long it lasted. It was actually an instant classic. Andy Roddick, who's got a podcast, said that tennis players are the best athletes in the world, Chandler. That's not, 5.5 hours is 5.5 hours.
I will say, I know what he's saying, right? The length of the matches. You're by yourself. You have no teammate. You could be playing in clay or concrete or in hot weather.
All of the things.
I get it. There's different conditions, and they are stopping and going, and they're backpedaling, they're jumping, but I disagree. agree. I think NBA players and then NFL players are the most athletic,
Oh.
tall, length, size, speed, agility, everything all in one. Yes, they're athletic. First of all, they're small, so that's part of it. They're not.
They're not. What?
They're not 6'7", 6'8", and move the way like
John
LeBron
Eisner was
James.
like 6'6" or
He's
something.
like 6'2", 6'3".
He's like 6'10".
Yeah.
by the way,
Okay.
John Eisner.
Well, that wasn't even close. There.
I agree. I played tennis. I think it's very hard, especially you're on an island by yourself. But I think that
Are you doing
DK
pickleball
Metcalf.
top right now? Is that?
DK Metcalf is more athletic than Andy Roddick.
Wow.
I'm gonna surprise you guys.
Here we go.
I'm not very well versed in tennis. I don't know if you guys know that or not.
I mean, I didn't know.
Not well versed in tennis. What I do know is I learned a valuable lesson in respecting every professional athlete's
100%.
craft. I do know that. I had a chance to do batting practice with the Phillies one year.
That's awesome.
And literally my whole midsection was tore up for 2 weeks because I had to learn how to
Different muscles.
I had to learn how to hit a baseball properly. So I've learned to respect everybody's hustles and what they do. Are they the best athletes in the world? I don't know. I hear his argument about the conditions, about being out there by yourself, 5-6 hour matches, this and that. Now, can you shoot a jump shot? Can you catch a football?
Maybe.
Can you hit a baseball? Can you do all of those things? That's what makes the best athlete in the world for me, that you can be able to do a multitude of these things relatively well.
I think it's the definition of athlete that is why this argument will last forever. Because some of us, I'll just myself.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I'll look at baseball and be like, okay. And then I watch a dude play tennis for 5.5 hours, and I'm like, that is conditioning at the best level.
Even baseball, like I golf every day and the ball's not moving. How do these dudes hit 95-mile-an-hour sliders that are dropping a foot? Like every professional sports has its thing, right?
Well,
like
why is Serena considered not just one of the best female athlete, but one of the best athletes of all time?
Right, even like Carlos Alcaraz. I'm watching this guy playing, and he's just getting to every ball. He's moving. He's insane. I just think when I said the size, I think guys can do that at 6'8", 6'9", with longer wingspan and just as fast and strong and athletic. So
They're lanky.
I think that has to go into it. When I look at the best athlete of all time, I'm looking at like a LeBron James type figure, not a Carlos Alcaraz.
Really?
He's
still baby, still.
Not a Michael Phelps type.
Michael Phelps would be a big one, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably the greatest Olympian, him and Bolt, right? So, like, they have to respect that. That's the top of the line when you talk about athletics. But
yeah,
I'm just thinking if I drew up a body of the most athletic person, it's going to be a 6'8", 6'9", jacked, ripped.
I think
dude that can
5.5
do it all.
hours is where it's at, because I think a lot of people would have
I'm gonna let you go alone
withdrawn.
on this one, Chandler. I don't know.
Listen, again, they're both
that's
great.
not-
I love tennis. They're fantastic.
allowed to do that.
It was an amazing.
They are
It was-
athletic. Wide receivers, tight ends in the NFL are athletic.
Also, because it was a
Like,
comeback for Alcaraz. Like, this thing looked like it was over, and then 4 hours later, it was still going.
final was
which is
sick.
kind of amazing. We're going to take a quick one on the other side. Predictions for tonight.
Something I know about.
Oh, Lou, you know a lot about
Like, you know what I mean? Alcaraz is
he's
6'1". Anthony Edwards can do everything he can do.
Oh, this is simple. Who wins? By how many? Boom. Chandler first.
I like the Thunder. I like the Thunder a lot. I think they cover 5, and I think it goes under 228.5.
Under, okay.
Thunder by 14.
What the heck is going
Precise.
Precision.
No. Pacers win, but let's get a little SG to the P.
You think the Pacers
real
win?
quick. Yeah, I think the Pacers win. Ooh, big numbers.
Tyrese
All
to
right.
score 20 plus. He better.
Okay, he better.
Need
SGA, 2 threes, sure.
Yes.
And Dort.
This is
Easy money. Easy money.
I actually like this
I like this one
SG
too.
Peasy.
But I got
friends?
Pacers win tonight. It's going to be super, super exciting.
I hope the Pacers win. Honestly, keep this thing going.
Good hoop.
Tony Allen.
TA tomorrow.
Mañana.
Oh, don't look
vibes.
down, look around. He's always
Back, yeah, yeah.